Hi, this is Peter Woolfolk speaking. Now, first of all, thank you so very much for listening to the podcast. Now, I am very excited to let you know that the podcast is now available on Amazon Alexa. You know the drill. Simply say, Alexa, play Public Relations Review Podcast, and she'll take it from there. And again, thank you for listening. And if you enjoy the program, please become a subscriber. Now, on to the podcast.
Welcome. This is the Public Relations Review Podcast, a program to discuss the many facets of public relations with seasoned professionals, educators, authors, and others. Now, here is your host, Peter Woolfolk.
Welcome to the Public Relations Review Podcast, and to our listeners all across America and around the world. This podcast is ranked by Apple as being among the top 1% of podcasts worldwide. And we thank all of our guests and listeners for making this possible. And also please leave your review of the podcast at the end of our show. Now, question, what are some of the major differences between public relations activities here and in the U.S. and in other foreign nations? Are they press releases? Just what could they be? Well, my guest today has an answer for you. With over 20 years of experience in corporate communications, she has worked with national and international brands, including technology, entertainment, consumer goods, e-commerce, sports, and more. In 2018, she contributed to the book Brand Real, the Ultimate Entrepreneur's Handbook, offering startup entrepreneurs advice on when and how to hire a public relations agency. In 2004, she led Sing Communications, a woman-powered boutique communications and public relations agency with over 20 years of history, to serving leading brands such as NVIDIA, OData, TransUnion, and others. She is a mother of 3 cats, no less, a wine enthusiast, a lover of new technologies, and a fan of rock and pop concerts, especially when they take place in New York City or Lisbon. So joining me today, all the way from Sao Paulo, Brazil, is Vania Gracio. She is the founder of Sing Communications. Vania, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Peter. So excited for having a chance to talk to you and your audience today. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that I mentioned in the opening is that, there are different cultures in terms of obviously how public relations operates here and there. What are some of those differences that you see?
Well, I see that we differ a lot from many other countries because in Brazil, especially in Latin America, we are all about relationships. So here we are more, our journalists, they are more focused on building that relationship, on relying on all the spokespeople that they have, they can find in many companies, and also they always give much more value for what is local. So it's really important for global brands when trying to arrive in the Brazilian market to consider better understanding our culture in the country and looking for how people like to relate with create relations with the brands, how they like to use like social media. Brazilians are tech savvy, so we are the first ones to start using new social media. And so this is really important when planning to launch a brand or planning to come to the Brazilian market, because our audience is very unique, and so is the same applies to our media outlets in the country.
Now, when you say your culture is unique, give us a little bit more of what you mean by that, because I understand that and certainly appreciate the fact that going into a new country you have to learn to adapt. So I'm just wondering, talk about some of those the uniqueness of some of the Brazilian people.
For example, we really love technology, but we love having the opportunity to create relationships. So, for instance, here we do not have organized an event to celebrate like in the U.S. I know it's very usual to organize an event to celebrate that the company is starting a business. In Brazil, we separate what is business and what is party. So we love relationships, and we love party, but at night, not when working. So when you are launching a company here, if you are organizing an event and you are inviting a journalist, you are inviting the journalist to go there and get a piece of news. He's not going to the event only because it's a global company or only because it will be free meals and free drinks. He's going there to get news, to get something that is relevant for his audience. And so I think this is very unique. And another thing that our journalists, they ask a lot, and they are totally focused on their audience. So they want to show that something is really important for their audience. So if the product offers something different, or it's a new service that will bring something very unique to their audience. So they avoid adjectives. So they are really focused on their audience, and they are more, they like press releases, but they want not the same model that we use in the U.S. press, for example. We need to build something really focused on the Brazilian media when we need to address the journalists here.
Well, a couple of things certainly caught my attention in that, having an announcement, that is not the time to have a cocktail party. If you have an announcement, you want your journalists want to show up and hear exactly what the product is about. How does it benefit their audience? How does it compare to other items of the similar nature? That sort of thing. So it's really about more substance than entertaining. Is that about right?
Yeah, it's totally right. And another thing that I know, but I'm trying to give, because I know you have a huge audience in the U.S., so I'm trying to bring more comparisons to what is used in the U.S. For instance, here, we do not mention competitors or make any announcements mentioning the competitors. Like in the U.S., you have some, like Coke and Pepsi, that for many years we saw those brands in the media and one mentioning another. This is not common here. Mm-hmm. So we usually do not compare our brand, my brand, to my competitor's brand to show how my brand is better than my competitor. This is something that our public and also the media here does not like. So this is something that it's one of the first things that we usually say to American brands coming to Brazil: avoid making or making comments on your competitors, or making aggressive statements against that. This is not seen as a good practice in Brazil.
Well, let me ask you now, has that been a problem, let's say, the first time an American organization or company wanted to introduce its product in Brazil? Did they listen to you first and take your advice, or did they tell you what they'd like to have happen and you had to correct them? How did that, or has that worked? Or has there been a combination of some listened to you and then some decided they wanted to do what they wanted to do and then listen to you? What experiences have you had in that?
Well, we have both cases. Sometimes they come with a recipe and they want to replicate the recipe, and sometimes they rely on our advice on what to do in our market to best get the results. But what we usually try to show is that if you really want to reach your audience in Brazil, you need to better understand this audience, especially because I think this is not only in Brazil but in many other markets. Sometimes if you want to talk to the Gen Z generation, for example, you are not going to use the media. You are going to use the traditional media, I mean. You are going to bet on a communication strategy for social media. And for another example, in Brazil, we have TV and radio, and also printed newspapers. They are the weekly source of news for about 30% of people, because Brazil is huge. So, but this is a reality for people over 30 years. If I want to target the youngest audience, and so probably I will use the social media and other channels. And for example, WhatsApp. WhatsApp is huge in Brazil. We have people using WhatsApp to talk and to spread some images and messages and everything. So we really need to understand where the audience is, what kind of channels they use in their daily communications to define the best strategy. So I think it's really important for any company trying to start business in a new country. First of all, find out what is your audience and where they are, because our market is changing a lot. And since the pandemic, we are reinventing ourselves all the time and looking for the trends to better find the right places to be and the right messages, because they also, the motivations that get the attention of our audience is changing all the time. Mm-hmm. So we need to be updated all the time.
So I certainly understand what you said about getting to know or making sure that they use the right tool, if you will, to reach the right audience. And I guess in some cases where there might be products that reach both younger people and older people. I don't know. Let's say maybe something like old tennis shoes, or older folks might wear some tennis shoes, younger folks might. So that means you've got to use a wide variety of different platforms to reach each different group. Am I correct in saying that?
No, that's totally right. For example, since Brazil is huge, we have more than 250 million people living in Brazil. 83% of people have access to internet, and broadcast TV is something really huge in Brazil, as radio, especially when you go to when you want to go to the masses. Radio and TV are really interesting media to be considered, but when we are trying to get the audience, like mass audience, so that's why I'm saying that knowing the audience and the behavior of people is important, because if you have such, like a popular product or service, certainly TV and radio will be key in your communication strategy. But also, we cannot forget the social media, especially WhatsApp, because we have a lot of groups, people here. We talk all the time on WhatsApp. Now it's much more used than the traditional phone calls. So WhatsApp would be another important element in a communication campaign. Since we have, actually in Brazil now we have more mobile than people. Usually people have 2 mobile cell phones. So it's another thing of our culture. We love to talk, love to be connected with people all the time. So communication is something that it's really live in our country. Mm-hmm. But when you know your audience, you know that this is interesting for a specific target audience that you have in your campaign. if you want to, if you are a B2B company, so the strategy will be completely different. You'll probably work with speaking opportunities and trying to find in the trade events that we have after the pandemic. Now we are seeing a boom of the events in Brazil. So this would be for sure something interesting for B2B brands trying to talk to their audience.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds like obviously it's something that companies need to make sure that they understand very well, or have individuals such as yourself who understand how to best reach the audience they want to reach and do it successfully. And I would imagine that you've been at this for a while and you've been quite successful at it.
Yes, that's correct. Because you need to make sure that you have a local, reliable partner agency, or local communications team that will help you to understand the local scene and how to plan and execute things in the market. I think I have one more. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, go on. And you said you had one more. What is that?
No, I think I have one more example talking about how Brazilians are specific in our markets about the journalists. Because many times executives, they think, okay, I know my products, I know the services, I know everything, but they know the product. They are not ready to talk about our market. So when they come here, the journalists expect someone that is a specialist in that product or that service, but also knows the impact of their offering in our markets. So, for example, you already have some local clients, and you have some examples of how the local clients are using this product or service in a different way, and the results that they are experiencing that, and some testimonials, and also show that, for example, sometimes they create some companies, they create a specific version of that product or service for the Brazilian market. Because, for example, we have, if you are an American product and you do not have your offering translated to Portuguese, depending on the audience that you are targeting, this might be a barrier, because not all people, everyone in Brazil speaks English. So it would be really important to consider the localization of a website, of a campaign, using local. We have a lot of slang, using the local slangs to better communicate with your audience here. So I think it's really important when the brands value this, the importance of this localization, they can have much more results, because the consumers or their public will understand that they created something especially for the Brazilian market or for the Brazilian audience here. This is really key when entering here.
Mm-hmm. Well, I certainly agree with that. It certainly makes a lot of sense to me, and I think you've given us an awful lot of information that anybody coming into the Brazilian market needs to take heed of that. Let me ask you now, is there anything that you think that we have left out in our discussion today?
I'm sorry, just cut a little bit. Could you repeat, Peter?
Okay. Do you think that we've missed anything in terms of how to deal with the Brazilian market? Did we leave anything out?
I think I would ask just regarding press releases, as we are talking about PR. I think just have in mind that press releases must be, it's a key element, it's still a key element in a communication strategy in Brazil. So usually global companies, they rely on news wires. And I think this is good, but it's not the only thing that you need to build brand awareness. So they should consider having press releases localized, not only with less adjectives, because the Brazilian journalists, they do not like adjectives, but also with a quote from the local spokesperson and examples and local customers. So when possible, it's always important to localize the press release, and since the media rooms are shrinking, sending the press release may be an opportunity to have your news published by Brazilian media as well.
Well, Vania, let me say thank you so very much. I believe that you provided a wealth of information to our listeners, and I really do appreciate your coming on and the fact that we had a chance to talk to you all the way from Brazil. This has been a great opportunity for our listeners to learn more about how to be successful outside of the United States. So any parting words?
Oh, thank you so much. It was a pleasure, and of course, anyone interested in learning more about our culture and how to do communications in Brazil, I'm totally available. I'm Vania Gracio. I'm on LinkedIn and other social media, so you can talk to us. It will be a pleasure.
Well, thank you so very much. And I want to say thank you to my guest today, Vania Gracio, who is the founder and CEO of Sing Communications out of Sao Paulo, Brazil. And to my listening audience, I certainly hope you've enjoyed this information, and hopefully that you will also share it with some of your colleagues. And also, please don't forget to give us a review. We certainly would appreciate it. And also listen to the next edition of the Public Relations Review podcast. Thank you.
This podcast is produced by Communication Strategies, an award-winning public relations and public affairs firm headquartered in Nashville, Tennessee. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, this is Peter Woolfolk. First, let me say thank you so much for being a listener. Now, I want to alert you to our shiny new podcast website located at podpage.com. However, you can go directly to the podcast site located at publicrelationsreviewpodcast.com. There, you can contact me through email. You can leave a voice message. You can leave a review. You can read an episode blog and frequently learn about the podcast guests. You might also want to suggest podcast topic ideas or even suggest a guest. You can also let me know if you would like to receive our podcast listener logo that you can post on your social media. So I look forward to hearing from you about our new podcast website. Thank you so much for listening to the Public Relations Review podcast, and have a great day.